really excited to have my next Trailblazer guest, and it is none other than Mintra Tilly. Hi, Mintra. Wie geht's dir?
Hi, gut, danke und dir?
Good, good. I think that's always one of the things. So, for the audience that doesn't know, I'm fluent in German, so it's always nice. I think while we're having this podcast, if we can't find the words, we might use German, we might use English, we might have to mix it up a bit. But for the audiences, I thought it would be great to sort of set the scene and introduce you. And also, it's
Mhm.
good for you, Mentor, to know how great you actually are as a woman in the business. So,
Oh,
Mintra Tilly is a mother, a fitness coach, and a trailblazer in arguably a male dominated performance sporting arena. She's currently the global head of sports for Hyrox. She has a strength and conditioning coaching background. She was a coach in the US Army and elite sport, and really thrilled to have her here to talk about her journey.
oh, thanks so much. What a nice intro.
I know, sounds really badass, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
So let's talk about your background. Where you're from? What is your educational background? How's been your career journey, just for people to understand?
Yeah, of course. So I'm was born and raised in Hamburg, Germany. My mom's from Thailand, so we would spend the summers in Bangkok, and would go back and forth a lot because I have a big family there as well. And growing up in Hamburg, I did yeah, I guess the what everyone does. We go to like it's called Ausbildung, it's sort of like a what's the
An
correct English?
apprenticeship. Yeah,
It's
an
apprenticeship.
apprenticeship.
Thank you. And then I went to the university. I have a business degree in um, international management, and then I kind of worked in that field a little bit. I was first in advertising, then I was in real estate, and then I met my first husband, who was in the U.S. Army, and I moved down to Bamberg, which is in the south of Germany, and that's when I kind of grew into the whole yeah, working out, training, a little bit more functional training, also like first touch based with CrossFit and military athlete. And that's how I kind of like transferred in. The whole transition was maybe 2 or 3 years from like a like a 9 to 5 job to like a strength and conditioning coaching job, and training soldiers. Obviously I had to do some other education, so I kind of learned it from the ground. So I'm not like a sports scientist or anything. So everything I know I was taught by myself, or like trial and error pretty much. And then like later on, I did all the educational other stuff. Got my certs and stuff that I needed to continue in this field. Yeah.
And for those who don't know, so the reason why you moved to Bamberg is because there are lots of military stations
Yes.
around that area. So that was one of
Yes.
the reasons for
Yeah.
moving down. My son
Yeah.
was born in Nuremberg, so I know the area
Oh
very,
yeah. There you
very
go.
well. Yeah.
So nice there.
Exactly. And that's interesting. So you say you were self-taught. So you started off, with your house building, your apprenticeship, doing something completely different. Did,
Mhm.
did you were you always passionate about sports growing up? Did you, play any sports at all?
No, I did a little tennis and stuff, but I was never really like that. That's such a funny thing. I wasn't even like none of my like no one in my family is like even close to like sportive. So I was really the first one. It just came. It sparked out of nowhere, and I liked it so much, and it kind of like became my passion. And um, I started off with bodybuilding, to be honest. So I was before like, so Bamberg was our first stop, and then we went to Grafenwöhr, which Grafenwöhr is also a US base, but it's like a huge training base where like basically it's like a turning point for British Army, French Army. So everyone goes there to do their training on the field before they deploy. And this was like back in the day when the Afghanistan war was still on. So I started off with bodybuilding, and I even went so far that I went on the stage, like be back. It's crazy if I think about it now. I would never do it again, but going on stage, and then kind of transferred into functional training. And yeah. that didn't happen until I got to Grafenwöhr. Yeah.
That's really interesting. So you just sparked an interest, I think, probably just
Yeah.
seeing people working in this sport. How
Hmm.
did you actually get into the US Army training, and what exactly was your role there? I think that's really badass and cool. So how did that happen?
Yeah, this also happened pretty unconvenient. So at first it was just, the if you've ever been to like a U.S. base, in general in the U.S. and outside, they have huge training facilities when it comes to the gym. So there's usually always like a multi-million-dollar gym with like the finest hammer strength and all you can think of. But then back then they had like all these fancy like indoor run track and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, like everything, but they had like a tiny super tiny space for CrossFit and kind of like functional training. We can drop weights and go a little heavier and box jumps and stuff. So that was like a tiny space. So I started off with my husband, my ex-husband. Back then we were just training, and obviously I would be in there every day, and it kind of like our little training group like got bigger and bigger until like people at first it was just friends and coworkers, and then it became like other units and other companies were interested and were like, hey, what are you guys doing? I don't know, what to do. I got this school coming up, or I have a military competition, can you help? And that's really when it came to mind. That was like, yeah, I think I'm kind of okay at this, because everyone comes and does it. And then I went talked to the MWR, like the manager, and then I went and did some certs, and then I was officially allowed to do classes, and then kind of like the word spread, and that's when it got really cool, because then there was like a special forces recruitment recruiter at the base, and they had like a pretty big group of guys who wanted to go to SFAS. So that's like the Special Forces Selection Course. And he really wanted to have like a thought out programming next to the PT that they do. And that's what kind of like really, when it really took off, is when I trained those guys and they were having success, they were getting picked up and they were getting selected. And that's when, like I got a little bit more, I got more soldiers to work with and different branches. That's, yeah.
And would you say so that was sort of your first exposure to designing a program, a training program for a
Yeah,
specific group of people?
definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. Because at first it was just like, oh, what do we want to do today? Like, what do we like? And then like just throw it all together. And then that was like, I want to say like the first, and it wasn't necessarily all right. And but like it was the first self-taught, sports specific programming and design. And yeah.
Would you say
Yeah.
you were also one of the first women, or when you moved to America, were there lots of women doing what you were doing in that particular role?
No, there was not many instructors. There was one female instructor, but she actually did just CrossFit. So there was not so many like or there was no one that did what I did, but in the overall scope of it, there weren't just male soldiers, there were also females. So it was kind of like, I want to say, a 70-30 mix, whereas later on, when I would go to like elite sports, it was just men, um, male players. So yeah. So in that in that sense, it was like a 30-70 ratio, I want to say.
I feel like you didn't let that phase you. You were like, I'm here, I've got a job to do, and it doesn't matter if I'm the woman or not. How do you motivate yourself, because obviously as a woman, my father always said, as a woman you have to work twice as hard. As a woman of color or an immigrant, you have to work three times as hard. So how did you, thrive and flourish in that environment, knowing that you were, underrepresented as a woman in that area?
Well, your father is a very wise man. No lies were told there. I mean, that's true. You gotta be better than everyone else. You can't make mistakes. You have to think of stuff that might be stupid, but like little stuff like, and I don't know, but like how you wear when you wear sportswear, you don't want it to be super tight. You want it to be, it's like all these different layers that you have to think about, or that you can think about in order to be respected in some kind of way. I didn't wanted to change my personality because I am who I am, but like obviously, you have to channel a little bit more of that coach, and also you can't be everyone's friend. Not everyone likes you, and this is like kind of like a interesting thing, because I grew up, my mom's Asian. They're very polite. It's always, don't be so not fast forward, but straightforward. Like, you don't kind of like sugarcoat everything, and kind of like, so I kind of had to get rid of all that in order to be taken serious. So I guess this was a little bit of a process, but what motivated me was simply the outcome, because or the journey and the outcome, because helping people getting better and seeing athletes, no matter if it's male or female, like being proud of themselves, or like gaining that self-concept, it's just a special thing. I think it's just something that was always my motivation.
Yeah, yeah. And then so you did that for a few years, and then you moved back to Hamburg. Then
Yeah.
what did you do then?
Yeah, so then it was kind of like, okay, well, there was no soldiers in Hamburg because it's the northern part of Germany. So what can I do now? And I looked at, the obvious. I looked at some CrossFit boxes, and I really knew that I did not want to go back to working at the desk. I wanted to stay in that field. And then I found that in Hamburg we had this was 2012, 2013, we still had a couple of first division clubs, and one of them was ice hockey.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a first division male hockey club, and I really like ice hockey. And I thought, I mean, they're not much different from soldiers. They are, but they aren't. Like, they have different fitness attributes that they need to train, but in general, they still need strong legs, and got to have conditioning and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, why don't I shoot my shot? And I called up the like the management. I can put to the manager, but I talked to the assistant, and I was like, yeah, hey, I'm back then I was my name was Madison, so I was referred to as Coach Madison. So I was like, hey, this is Coach Madison. I want to talk to your manager. I met him before. I kind of like made it all up just to kind of get in.
Yeah,
And then like I did that a couple of times, and then he actually did call me back, and then that's how that's how I got the job. Yeah.
And do you think it was a bit strategic? Because, you could have also said, well, I still want to be a coach, but you went for the sport that's maybe not the most popular in Germany, but you loved it and you thought there was an opportunity there.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously the most popular sport is soccer.
Yeah.
As you know, in the UK it's huge, and it also pays great money. But I wasn't too mm, I don't know. I just didn't. I wasn't too into soccer. Let's put it like that. I like ice hockey, and I know what these guys need, and so I said, okay, let's shoot my shot with ice hockey. And then obviously, as I became a little bit more mature as a strength and conditioning coach of a professional first division club, then my horizon expanded a little bit, and was like, yeah, there's soccer too. We had handball. I don't know what that is in English.
Handball. Handball.
Oh,
Yeah.
so we have handball
Yeah.
too. So it's like there was also interesting other sports, but to be honest, the I was happy with the ice hockey club, but then I also knew it was really hard to get into the soccer club, especially as a female conditioning coach. So it's almost impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I was reading a research done by Deutsche Welle, so DW, that
yeah,
less than 3% of elite trainers, coaches in Germany are women still.
yeah. It's
So
amazing. See, I didn't even know that number, but I thought, this was like almost 10 years ago. I
yeah,
thought this changed a little bit, but I know ice hockey changed because they're more open, but like German, like soccer is like, it's like
it's
the
still,
oldest school of them all when it comes to mindset, but
yeah.
I don't know.
But hey, you're
Like,
trailblazing in other ways.
it's coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So let's talk about how you joined Hyrox. you are perhaps known for writing the trainings plan or coming up with the concept. Talk to me about that. How do you get into such an opportunity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, this was kind of luck, I guess, because my a good friend of mine is the or her husband is the founder of um, Hyrox. So me and her, we would hang out, and obviously she knew what I was doing, and she knew that I was coaching ice hockey players. And then one day he randomly wrote me an email and was like, "Hey, I have this idea. I want to combine running and like functional movements, and so can you come up with something?" And that was I don't remember the years, but it was like over a course of a couple of years. So it was something between 213 and 215 ish. And so I did, and we were kind of like going back and forth, what works, what doesn't, what requirements does it need to have. I didn't have much experience. I mean, I used to do competitions for soldiers, so we used to like do, we would call it the graph game. So it's like the soldiers would come and we would have them do all kinds of soldier stuff. So I kind of like knew what works and what doesn't, but never to a point where it's like a large, like a mass participation event like Hyrox, right? So I had no idea what I was getting myself into pretty much when I would write the design or write the concept. And then as we progressed from stuff he would say, and I would kind of be like, okay, he wants to do it a little bigger, so then I need to exchange this exercise because this won't work when we have, like, I don't know, so yeah, that how it came about. And then it was a lot of trial and error. So I did it. Like, people always ask me, have you done a Hyrox? What's your time? And so I've done it a couple of times, like lots of times, but before it was like this thing. So I would do it at my gym, or I would do it outside, and bring all the equipment back when it didn't have, at the very beginning, it didn't have any sleds. So I would suffer alone by myself a couple of times, and then like till it became what it is now. And so yeah, I guess if you're asking my role, I think I'm like one of the founding members of Hyrox, and till this day very much involved in the whole sportive side of the business.
I
Yeah.
mean, hands down. And Mintra, you should big yourself up. I know you said there's a bit of luck, but there's also a bit of you staying true to yourself. You've built your reputation of training elite soldiers, and obviously with ice hockey. So they approached you because they thought, well, not even thought, they knew you know how to put a training plan together. You sort of have that vision of what it could be for everyone. So you need to give yourself more credit than
Yes. Okay. I heard you. Yeah, you're right. So yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
how it came.
Definitely, definitely. Own it, own it. And what I also love, having head judged a few events, is you're very open to improving the handbook, looking how things can be done. You constantly, obviously the principles remain the same, but you are open to improve, make things better, make it more enjoyable, make it more inclusive. And I think that's really important. I think that speaks also to your character. Did you ever envision that it would become such a success?
No, not at all. Never in like a million years. I never had that broad, like, in my little strength and conditioning world, I was happy, like it was like, okay, the next game is the next big thing, next season. But when I designed this, I was like, okay, we do this one time, right? And then we'll maybe do it again in the next year when it becomes like a annual thing if it's successful. But then Christian was like, yeah, no, next year we're gonna do it like nationwide, and then we're gonna go to the US. So I'm like, yeah, right. Like, okay, you keep talking. But then actually that all happened, and then happened pretty quick. And with the, like, it's surreal sometimes. I can remember I was in, um I don't remember which city. I think it was London. They had like huge, like the tribune, like where you go up and sit.
The
What's that?
podiums, yeah.
The podiums. And so I would walk up to the very top, and so I can get a view of the entire event and venue. And I'm just standing there. It's like literally like the energy, it's buzzing. Like there's thousands of athletes and spectators, and I'm like damn, like this is actually real. This happened, and we went from so small, from just like writing on a piece of paper to this. So yeah, this it's pretty cool to see it came to life, but I never would have thought it would
Yeah, I mean,
become this big.
there are some events where there are over 4,000 people, and I think there's you've had a feature in Stylist magazine where they said 40,000 women are expected to have participated globally, and they're
Hmm.
45% of the participants. So it's major in a big
Yeah,
way. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It got so it's cool. It's got so popular and people love it, and that's great to see.
Talk to me about your values and your work ethic. What are the foundations or the things that steer you, that guide you?
Um, okay, so work ethic wise, I think I have like I have my dad, and my dad is like he would get up every day at the same time for for years. He'd never have a sick day. He would come back home like almost like a little bit of a machine ish. So I would, growing up, I would see that. My mom's also a hot worker, so I'm like still from a generation that believes you put in the hours and then you get your reward. So obviously that changed a little bit in the recent years, but that's what I would do when I would do my I was like an entrepreneurship. What's it
Yeah,
called again?
apprenticeship. Yeah,
Apprenticeship.
yeah.
Thank you. And my doing during my first years of work, and also like as a strength coach. So that's put in a lot of hours, go the extra mile, like do all these do all these extra things, even though they're exhausting, but like they paid out in the end. So it's kind of like a little bit and that shift did not shift. So I don't I don't want to say I got lazy, or I work a little smarter now. Time management is a lot better. Obviously with a family, I mean, I just have one kid. I don't know how other moms do it with more kid. Like I the most respect, but I have like my own little bubble where I need to like do time management. But then also something that stayed, and what is, I guess you can call it a value, is like it's attention to detail. And also like when you think something is like go the longer way if you need to, because it'll pay out in the end, basically. Yeah, so if you have, it's just a is just an example. We once had like at the beginning of my career, like where I was kind of trying to position myself.
Mhm.
We were like, oh, let's take some pictures, and I was like, okay, let's go there. I have this location we can go to, but no props. And then this guy was like, yeah, what, like, can you bring like a tire or anything, like the big lorry
Massive
tires?
trucker fires. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
truck tire. So I was like, I don't know how to get it there, and blah blah blah. And then so I was like, okay, let me see if I can get this work. It was a pain in the butt, but it worked out because that picture at the end of the day ended up being like everywhere. So it's just a small yeah, it's just a small Beispiel. What's
Example.
Beispiel?
Yeah.
Example. Thank you. Oh, this is so awesome that you
I
speak
know,
German.
right? I should just follow you around, Mintra. No, no.
So it's a small example, but it this happened in a lot of different key moments in my life, where going like we're doing the extra work, or like going the longer way, like turned out to be good at the end.
That is a very good tip. I mean, there are no shortcuts in life, basically. You got to put in the work,
Hmm.
put in the 10,000 hours, as they say. They say it takes 10,000 hours for you to perfect a skill, or something
Oh
that you're
wow,
good at.
that's a lot of
So,
hours.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure. You talked about family. What does a typical day look like for you now as a mother?
Mm-hmm. So getting up in the morning, sometimes we know we get up a little earlier. Sometimes she likes to sleep in, so it's basically just getting ready in the morning, getting her ready for kindergarten, and then when I drop her off, I go back home, and that's when I do my work. It's like so I work in the morning hours. So I'm a morning person. I used to be a night person, but now I'm a morning person, and trying to get everything in, be very efficient with my time. And then if I can find time, squeeze in like a training session. If not, then I'll do it in the afternoon. And then basically picking her up, and then whatever's on the agenda for the day. With her now, she's like 6. She's going to school this year. I can pretty much take her anywhere, because I mean, I when she was smaller, I could take her anywhere too. But now it's like, I got to go to work. I got to go to the office today, and she's like, okay, so she's coming, or we'll try to make, because it is very busy, and I try to not make it all about me. So we're and not all about her. So we're kind of like 50-50. So one of those, we're not one of those families where, the afternoon is just for the kid, and she kind of like does have to squeeze in with our schedule. But then it's always fair. So she gets her attention time and whatever she needs. So yeah, but that's kind of like what a day looks like.
Yeah. So while you're doing well, you're sort of building the foundations for her of what real life looks like, and
Yeah, you can put it that way. Yes, yes.
mixing and matching. So you've talked about how Hyrox is now global, so over a few continents, so USA, Asia, Europe, Australia.
Mhm. Australia. We're missing as far as continents. We're missing Africa
Yeah.
and South America.
Yeah, is that coming soon?
Yes. So South America is pretty much coming either this season. I'm sorry, either next season or the year after. And then Africa. We've had a couple of talks, I want to say, with South Africa. So I'm not sure, but we do have a partner gym in Kenya, I believe, which is pretty cool. Which was so random, but because there's nowhere Hyrox near, so we do have a little bit of ties there, but nothing set in stone yet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you launched South Africa first, because obviously the Arnold's Classic takes place
Mm-hmm.
there as well. So in all of that, it's a global business. Obviously, your role, global head of sports.
Mm-hmm.
What does a typical work week look like for you then? What do you do now?
Yeah, so during the season, it's pretty much it's funny. It's kind of similar to a sports season. So you always prepare for the next game, so event. So on Mondays it's kind of slow because you just came off an event, and then like Tuesday you need to get all your stuff done because athletes information need to be sent out and stuff like that. So what I do basically is in during the season I take care of the whole sports team. So I coordinate and manage the head judges, the leads, like the race directors and stuff, where they go. Then we it's the whole Star Wave schedule. I'm still very much in the operational business, so I do all the Star Wave schedules, and so globally. And then comes with that is also the allocating the age group slots, and stuff like that. So it's a little bit of everything, even though we have a great sports team. But basically, like we always do like the 4I principle. So people do something and then they show me, and then basically it gets approved. So it's all things event during the season, and then once the season stops, it's like reevaluating rules, reevaluating the handbook. And even when, because we're work really close with all our, I mean, obviously you can be at every event, but like we get feedback from every event, and for me that's so valuable, even from the athletes. Like so it doesn't matter, but some things are like, okay, I can't change that, I know that, but I can't change it. But some things, you don't see everything. Like sometimes you get colorblind, I want to say, about this, like du siehst den Wald vor lauter Bäumen nicht, because
Of course, yeah. So you can't. I'm trying to now translate the analogy. So, oh my God. So what you're trying to say is sometimes you can't see the wood before the trees. That's what it is.
Oh,
And
perfect! I didn't even know that one. I have to remember that one. Yeah, so you can't see the wood before the trees because you're doing this every single day, and then when you get like a from outside, like a different point of view,
of course,
then it's like, right, why did I not see that? That makes absolutely sense. But during the season, you can't be making changes.
No.
So that I write all this down, and then I reevaluate, and then we'll apply it to next season.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
And also because in your role, your role is to take a helicopter view, overarching, overseeing.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing the little nitty-gritty stuff that
Yeah.
needs to be improved. And do you think, I guess technology has helped as well? Because can you imagine trying to run global events, I don't know, 20 years ago? Technology has helped in terms
Yeah.
of connecting, sharing of data. Is the business that you work for use lots of good systems and apps, or is it still very classic Excel spreadsheets and Google sharing
Yeah.
away?
It's it's a little bit of both. It is kind of still classic. It's all obviously in the cloud, but it's very much Excel dominated. So we do everything in Excel, or lots of stuff in Excel. And then yeah, we don't have that yet. I think we're working on that, like a communication app type thing, and also for the participants. But yeah, a little one step up, like one digital step after the other.
Exactly.
So
And
yeah.
also for anyone who's listening, don't knock not trying to learn how to use Excel. It's really important still to this
It
day.
is
Yeah.
like it is like everything is like the entire Starwave schedule is all Excel, with the times and stuff. So like there's a lot of stuff. Yeah, I didn't know. I think I've never, even back in my, when I was working real estate, like office job, I work Excel more now than I used then.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm the same as well in my jobs because I'm a commercial director in a business, and we're always
Mhm.
having to analyze large data sets, pick
Yeah.
out the trends,
Yeah.
organize information, profit and loss statements. So it's unfortunately still there. Can't get rid of it.
Can't get rid of it.
Yeah. What leadership skills do you think have helped you on your career journey, if you look back?
Mm, I think I think a big plus. This might sound tacky, but it's being a girl, a female, a woman. Because um, y- I feel sometimes, and this is not to generalize, other leaders, but I feel sometimes there's a little bit of lack of empathy, and a lack of, social skills. So I feel that's something that has helped me through my entire career. Even if it was, harder situations, or whatever, like when it was personal or someone else, I feel like being a social person or empathetic person helps, to a point. So that helped, and then also a little bit, yeah. mm, I I know that I'm a really nice person. Like I consider myself nice. I would never, be super rude to anybody. But what I have been feedback sometimes is that I come off a little arrogant or bossy or whatever you want to call that. But I feel like sometimes if they think you're that, and that's necessarily because I am, but when you first meet me, I'm not like, hey, give me a hug, how are you, like me. So I'm just not that person. It's just we just have to get to know each other first, and then we have that connection. So I feel like that helped a little bit too, if it might, even if it might sound weird. But when people are a little bit on the distance for you, so that they're not trying to take advantage right away, and then they get to know you, and then you're kind of like on eye level, versus they think, oh, you're this little stupid girl, I can she'll do it anyway, basically. So I feel like those are two things that helped.
Yeah, no, I mean you're so right. Being a woman in itself means, having being vulnerable is a superpower in itself. So,
Hmm.
showing empathy. And the second thing, oh my God, Mintra, I get that a lot. It's like, oh, she's too bossy. America Ferrera, so she was on a show called Ugly Betty. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Yeah.
And she was asked a question in an interview about, so how do you feel about being called bossy? And you know what she said? She says, no, I'm not bossy, I am the boss. um
Oh, yes.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, if someone doesn't know you, you're right, you can't be all friendly at the beginning. You have to warm up, understand, and you know have a professional appearance, and then afterwards all the friendliness then come up. But
Yeah, and they wouldn't, you know what? They wouldn't say that about a man.
no,
They
no.
wouldn't say that about a man. And so that's what it's like, okay, wow. That I got to remember that. Two
Yeah,
things I learned today.
yeah. What achievements are you most proud of in your career?
Just come again?
What achievements are you most proud of in your career?
Um, in my career. So I think, yeah, I think I thought when I was in the States, I worked with a guy called Rob Shaw, who's my inspiration and my mentor. So all I know as a strength coach and also like a little bit of a life coach, I know from him. And 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 when I was with him, I was going through like a personal phase where I was separating from my ex-husband. So it was kind of like everything felt like overwhelming. I didn't know in what direction to go because that was when I parted from the, you know, when I would decided I would leave the US Army and go back to my hometown. I was kind of like, okay, I have my friends there, but I don't know what to do because this profession, strength coach or fitness coach, was like so like such a bubble, right? So going from a being an employed person to like self-employment, and also in this field where there's not much room for you, there just wasn't much options. I felt very, very insecure, and um, I was afterwards really proud of myself, even though my dad said, "Okay, you can try this a year, but then you'll find a real job." Okay, so so I was really proud looking back that I kind of did this and went for it and listened to my gut. So I think that's one of my biggest achievement next to Hyrox, which is obviously even a bigger thing. But even there, when I worked with the ice hockey club, they were going. We had like it was the Hamburg Freezers, and the Hamburg Freezers were basically yeah, like a branch from the LA Kings,
Mm-hmm.
and that's again like Anschutz, so which is like a big investor company, and Anschutz then said, "All right, we're not doing this anymore in Hamburg. We're not giving you any more money, so we have to close the club." So at that point, I was pregnant again. I was pumped with hormones. I was like, "Oh my god, my life's over." But then, even then, also, one door closed, another door opened. Hyrox came along, so I think my biggest achievement, to answer your question, was that I went for my gut feeling, and I did what I had to do by becoming self-employed in the fitness industry. And then the second biggest achievement was, not letting that that thing take me to failure, or like getting depressed where I thought there was no way out. I could never find another job in this field as a female, because then I end up I did.
Yeah, yeah. It feels like there's a thread here, is it? No matter what challenges you're faced, like you said, one door closes, many doors, open, and there's always discomfort when it's time to grow as well.
Yes.
You don't grow or progress from a comfortable space as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to call it black hole. It feels like a huge. You don't know when you go in, where you're gonna end up. And that's what's so scary. But you need to like go through that, because after all, they're not that bad. They're actually great, because it doesn't matter where you end up. It'll help you grow, and it makes you a better person, and it gives you more tools.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Let's talk about self-care. So how do you take care of when you're not working, when
Hmm.
it's not about, your little one? How do you, and is that important to you, self-care?
Yeah, it's very important to me. And now that you mention it, I don't. I didn't make much time in the last months to do actual self care, because to me, and this might be like a Thai thing, but to me, self care is going to a Thai massage, because
Love
that's
a
so
Thai
refreshing.
massage.
If it's a good one, no, it's a really good one. It'll take like an hour, or they do something to that's 30 minutes for it, but you feel brand new. But you have to go to like a good. They call it like a doctor. Like you have to go to a good
Specialist, yeah, yeah.
place. Yeah. So that's self care to me. But obviously, I haven't done that. But what I do on a daily or on a weekly base just to keep me sane is I go horse riding. I developed horse riding when I always wanted to do horse riding when I was little, but there was no chance. So when I grew up and had my own money, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna do it. And so I was on and off, but now I'm pretty it's pretty regular with it. So that's kind of like there's an hour where there's no Hyrox, doesn't even exist. Like there's nothing. It's just a horse and me, and so yeah.
Oh, that's brilliant. Being one with nature in a way.
Yeah,
And horses are very intuitive as well, isn't it? They'll
they
sense
are.
if you're not
They are.
stressed.
You have to be a boss around them too
Oh yeah.
because they they feel if you're insecure. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So for some young lady out there who's and obviously young man, but we're looking to inspire, women who's listening and saying, "Wow, I've always wanted to get into the coaching arena. I'm a woman. What tips would you give that woman out there?"
I would. Okay, so first of all, if you don't ask, the answer is always no. Ask your questions. Do the dare to do what you want to do. But if you don't, you'll never know. And then don't get discouraged by people because this is what I hate and this is what I try not to do. People just don't never answer. They ghost you. You write them an email, they ghost you. So be persistent. Do like you don't have to do it like to a point where you like annoying or like a stalker, but be persistent and try to get your answers or try to get someone to get a conversation going with you, and don't be discouraged if they don't, because they might have other stuff going on in their life and it's never personal. So don't take this a second advice, don't take it personal. It's not you. Like it might be a situation in their life, blah, 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 whatever, but it's not really you. Just stay true to yourself and believe in yourself. And and then find yourself a coach, a good coach that is a mentor, and learn everything, and do this, walk your walk and talk your talk. So don't just be reading up on stuff, but try it out. If you write a program, if you even if you write a workout and you want to give it to someone else, you try it out and see if it works, and then you'll have your answer.
Bro, do you still feel there's a long way to go in terms of having more female representation in your space?
Oh yeah, I feel so. Yeah. I feel it's always such a hassle because like when we're loud, or like if then we're bitchy. When like we're a little distant, then we're bossy. I mean, there's so much judgment going on, and I feel like in order to like put yourself in that situation and not be super insecure and like, oh, you have to do some self, like grow internally first, because I can see that so I'm 42 now. If my 25-year-old would be in the situation that I am right now, like I couldn't handle it probably. I would grow in some sort, but I couldn't, manage it the way I could. So give yourself also some time to grow, and you don't have to like, okay, let me circle back. When I first started this was a work environment. There was just females working there, and what I got from them is that they were all bitchy towards me. Like there was maybe one or two out of 20 that was super super like, what do you call this, ellbogen.
God. Bitchy and backstabbing. Oh, I'll tell you come later.
Yeah, they were so career oriented that
Yeah.
instead of lifting each other up, they were
Knocking
kind
you
of like
down.
so keen on keeping me down and small. And I wouldn't. And this is just a resilience type of thing. You just need to like be resilient, and you can't be resentful, because that's something they got going on. When you get to that position, you don't have to be that way, right? That's something that I said myself. If I ever get to a position where I can uplift other women and people, even that doesn't, but especially women, I'll do it. Like, because it doesn't take away from my shine. it doesn't make my stuff smaller. In the opposite, it'll all make us bigger. And this is just something, if you're younger, if you're like really you have that drive and you want to make a career and stuff, do that, but never, remember that you have a heart and you're a person. So just do it with kindness, I guess.
Yeah, I was just circling back. I can't believe you're 42. I'm 42 as well, and we have birthday in the same month as well, isn't it?
Yay!
Yay!
You're like a day, or is it the same day, or a day after, or a day before?
I'm on the 10th of February.
Yeah, I'm on the 11th.
Oh my God. Because long story, so we did Hyrox Glasgow, and it was so lovely because the head judges and everyone, we went to dinner together, and I was like, oh, it's Mintra's birthday. I was like, is she here? Is she here? But you weren't. But, oh my God, parallel lives
Oh,
we're living. But you are so right. Even now, as a boss or a leader myself, I made a vow to myself 20 years ago, saying, when I'm in a position where I can influence, I'm going to uplift, I'm going to support, I'm going to help with training and development, give tips, all the things that I needed at that time. And maybe, my line manager couldn't give it to me. I said, I'm going to
mhm,
be all of those things because
mhm.
it's also the right thing to do. You have to be a leader with integrity. And like you said, be
Yeah,
kind.
yeah.
Super
And
important.
and last thing that just came to mind when you said that, and you strike me as the same person. Like, you're like, be positive, like, focus on the good stuff, because the bad stuff, like, doesn't get you anywhere, right? So there's no point in dragging. Yeah, just focus on what's good. The glass is half full.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
So what are three things, Mintra, that people don't know about you?
Ooh, that people don't know about me. Well, okay. Well, I love old school disco and Motown music, which is
Okay. What's
Motown I can get away with, but like the old disco swings, it's like,
yeah, what's
yeah.
like on your what's on repeat on your playlist?
Um, well, right now it's because it's funny because my daughter loves Sing, so Sing is like that is like a movie where they sing old songs. So right now it's Elton John. I'm Still Standing. Yeah, so I love that kind of music. Um, what else is um well, I I don't know. I'm a pretty good. I can do like a pretty good. I can bake really good. I'm not so much of a great cook, but I can bake a lot of fancy stuff. And what else?
What's your go-to recipe then? If I
I
said
have like a
if I said I'm coming to Hamburg, I'm coming to yours, what are you gonna bake?
I'm gonna make you a cheesecake, like a lemon cheesecake, a really nice and light, fresh, summery cheesecake.
Käsekuchen all the way.
Yeah, it's cool.
That's what I mean, it's crazy. What I miss about living in Germany, I miss the mustard, the sausages, the cake. Little things.
Yes.
I know. So my sister was in Düsseldorf because she lives in Sweden, and I was like, she's coming here in around May, and I said,
Uh-huh.
yeah, buy lots of Zenf, lots of mustard. Yeah.
Oh, funny. That's funny. But now that you do say, the mustard is pretty good. Yeah. But you don't have that in the UK?
No, they've just
Not
got
like
the
that?
classic, yeah. But if you need, that German special
Mm-hmm.
sauce, you need to get it from there. But yeah,
Got it. Got it.
yeah, yeah.
I'll bring you some next time.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. What's a motto you live by?
I think I kind of said it. If you don't ask, the answer is always no.
Yeah.
That's my motto,
Oh,
because
brilliant.
you'll never know.
If you don't ask, you don't get, and you'll never
Mm-hmm.
know. Yeah.
And that goes for little things. I mean, my daughter sometimes, do you think I can go to the bathroom here? Well, you ask, you have to ask. And then if say no, then no. But yeah.
Yeah. Mintra, thank you so much for, first of all, coming on the podcast. When I started the podcast, I didn't think I would have so many people who would be keen to come in and be part of the movement. And I think what you're doing is amazing. Sports, health is wealth. And the fact that
Mm-hmm.
you are part of something that is allowing everybody to be inclusive, and obviously, living your dream as well. And you're
Yeah.
inspiring someone out there who may be of your heritage or not, but someone who says, you know what, I can do that. I can be badass. I can potentially make an impact. So thank you so much for joining. There've been some really good Trailblazer tips that you've given, and looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for creating this and for having me, and also for inspiring. Thanks.
Vielen lieben Dank. So, everybody, this has been the Trailblazers Experience Podcast. Remember to follow, like, subscribe, tell another woman about the podcast, and hopefully, you've learned some really, really good tips today about how to navigate through your career. Until next time, I'm Intola, and this was Mintra.